Admiral Kira pressed her 4 hands against the cold metal of the command console as another explosion rocked the ship. Through the massive viewing window of her flagship, she watched the last Kalari colony ships flee desperately toward the edge of space. Behind them, the black metal forms of Vex war machines moved like a disease across the stars. "Admiral, we've lost contact with Sector 7, reported her communications officer, his voice barely steady. "The Vex have taken everything from the outer rim to the core worlds. We're all that's left." Kira closed her eyes for a moment. 300 years of Kalari civilization, gone in 6 months. The Vex collective had appeared from nowhere, their ships dark and silent except for the terrible sound they made when converting living worlds into more machines. "How many ships do we have?" she asked quietly. 17 combat vessels, Admiral. Maybe 20 support craft." Her tactical officer paused. "The Vex fleet numbers in the thousands. They're growing stronger with every world they take." The bridge fell silent except for the hum of dying systems. Kira had been fighting this war since the first Vex ship appeared in their space. She had watched her people die, her worlds burn, her fleets scatter like dust in the void. Every strategy had failed. Every weapon had proven useless against their enemy. The Vex didn't just want to defeat the Kalari. They wanted to erase them completely. A new voice spoke from behind her. "There is another way." Kira turned to see High Counselor Vex, the oldest member of their government. His ancient face was marked with the ritual scars of their warrior culture, but his eyes held something she had not seen in months: hope. "Counselor, we've tried everything. Our weapons barely scratch their hulls. Our tactics mean nothing to machines that don't fear death." The old Kalari stepped forward, pulling a small crystal device from his robes. It was covered in symbols that seemed to shift and move in the light. "This is older than our space age, Admiral. Older than our first cities. It comes from the ruins on Keth Prime, from the people who came before us." Kira stared at the artifact. "Ancient technology won't save us now, Counselor." "Not technology," Vex said softly. "A calling. A ritual of summoning. The old texts speak of warriors from beyond the void. Beings who live for battle, who answer the call of those who fight hopeless wars. You're talking about legends. Myths. Perhaps. But what else do we have left?" The counselor held up the device and it began to glow with inner light. "The ritual requires enormous energy. It will drain our remaining power cells, leave us defenseless. But the texts promise that somewhere in the dark between worlds, there are those who hear the call of warriors in need." On the view screen, another Kalari ship exploded in silent fire. The Vex were getting closer, their dark forms moving with mechanical precision through the debris field. "Admiral," her sensor officer called out, "Vex fleet is moving to intercept. 6 hours until they reach firing range." Kira looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew. Young Kalari who should have been starting families, not dying in a hopeless war. Veterans who had fought in the border conflicts but never imagined facing extinction itself. They trusted her to find a way to save their people. "What exactly does this ritual do?" she asked. Counselor Vex activated the device fully. Ancient symbols appeared in the air around it, floating like golden fire. "It sends our voice across the barriers between worlds. It carries our plea to those who might answer. The texts are unclear about who or what might come, but they promise this: true warriors cannot ignore a call for aid. And if nothing answers? Then we die as we have lived. Fighting." Another explosion, closer this time. The lights on the bridge flickered as power systems strained to keep the ship running. "Admiral, Vex forward scouts are beginning their attack run," reported the tactical officer. "We have maybe 4 hours before the main fleet arrives." Kira stared at the glowing artifact in the counselor's hands. Everything logical told her it was madness. Ancient superstitions would not stop the machines that had conquered their empire. But logic had already failed them. Conventional warfare had failed them. Maybe it was time for madness. "Do it," she said quietly. The counselor began the ritual, speaking words in the old tongue that had not been heard for thousands of years. The crystal device rose from his hands, spinning slowly as it drew power from the ship's dying systems. The golden symbols spread outward, filling the bridge with strange light. Through her neural link to the ship's systems, Kira felt the enormous energy drain as the ritual consumed their remaining power reserves. Emergency lighting flickered on as main systems shut down one by one. But the device continued to glow, and now she could hear something. Not words but meaning. A voice that spoke across impossible distances, carrying their desperation into the void. "Warriors of the dark between worlds, we call to you in our final hour. We are the Kalari and we face extinction." The machines have taken our worlds, our fleets, our hope. If honor means anything to you, if the call of battle stirs something in your souls, please, help us. We offer alliance, friendship, whatever you desire. All we ask is that you fight beside us, that our people not die forgotten in the darkness. The message repeated, growing stronger as the ritual reached its peak. Then with a final flash of light, it was gone. The crystal device fell dark and silent. The bridge was quiet except for emergency power systems humming in the walls. Outside, the Vex fleet continued its advance, unaware of what had just taken place. Did it work? Someone whispered. Kira stared out at the stars, hoping desperately that somewhere in the vast darkness, someone had heard their call. Captain Lee Jean was drinking his morning coffee when the impossible happened. The communications array in the bridge of the Terran Federation ship Sol began receiving a signal from somewhere beyond known space. "Sir, you need to see this," called Lieutenant Park Sue from her station. Her face was pale as she stared at the readings on her screen. "We're getting something through the quantum communication system. But it's not from any human ship." Jean set down his cup and walked over to the communications console. The signal was unlike anything he had ever seen. It pulsed with strange energy patterns and seemed to carry more than just data. It felt urgent, desperate. "Can you translate it?" he asked. "The computer is trying, sir. The language is completely unknown, but there are mathematical constants embedded in the signal. Universal concepts that any intelligent species would recognize." Park Sue worked frantically at her controls. "It's going to take time." Jean nodded and activated the ship-wide communication system. "All senior officers to the bridge immediately. We may have just made first contact with an alien species." Within minutes, the bridge filled with excited voices. Dr. Kim Hai, the ship's xenobiologist, stood next to Engineer Han Na as they watched the translation program work. Science Officer Cho Min recorded everything while Communications Specialist Lee Sung tried to isolate different parts of the signal. "There," Park Sue said suddenly. "I've got partial translation coming through." The bridge fell silent as words appeared on the main screen. They were broken and unclear, but the meaning was unmistakable. "Warriors, call to you, final hour, machines have taken, extinction. If battle stirs, help us, fight beside us." Dr. Kim Hai leaned forward, her eyes wide. "It's a distress call. They're asking for military aid." "From who?" asked Cho Min. "From us, apparently," Jean replied grimly. "They somehow sent this message directly to human space. The question is how they knew we existed." The translation improved as the computer learned more about the alien language. Soon they could hear the full message, spoken by a voice that carried both pride and desperation. "Warriors of the dark between worlds, we call to you in our final hour. We are the Kalari and we face extinction. The machines have taken our worlds, our fleets, our hope. If honor means anything to you, if the call of battle stirs something in your souls, please help us. We offer alliance, friendship, whatever you desire. All we ask is that you fight beside us, that our people not die forgotten in the darkness." The bridge was quiet for a long moment. Finally, Engineer Han Na spoke up. "Sir, the energy required to send this signal across dimensional barriers would be enormous. They must be truly desperate to spend that kind of power on what amounts to a message in a bottle." Jean studied the data flowing across his screens. Somewhere out there, an entire civilization was dying while fighting against machines. It reminded him of the stories his grandfather had told about the old wars on Earth, when humans had fought against impossible odds and somehow survived. "Send word to Admiral Kim 1 immediately," he ordered. "Tell him we have first contact, and it's a combat situation. We need the fleet." Hours later, Admiral Kim 1's weathered face appeared on the main screen from his flagship Busan. The old soldier had fought in every major human conflict for the past 30 years, but this was something completely new. "Captain Lee, I've read your report. You're certain this is genuine?" "Yes, sir. Our analysis shows the signal originated from outside our galaxy. The mathematical proofs embedded in the message demonstrate advanced technology and genuine intelligence. These Kalari are real and they're dying." Kim 1 was quiet for a moment, thinking. "We've always wondered what we'd do if we met other intelligent life. I never imagined our first contact would be a call for help in a war." "Sir, what are your orders?" The Admiral's expression hardened. "We're going to answer their call. The Terran Federation has never abandoned allies and we're not going to start now. Even if these allies are complete strangers from another galaxy." Over the next 6 hours, the largest fleet in human history assembled in Earth orbit. 50 warships, from massive dreadnoughts to fast attack cruisers, prepared for humanity's first interstellar war. Support vessels loaded with supplies, medical equipment and repair materials joined the formation. Captain Lee Jean stood on his bridge watching the fleet prepare. Dr. Kim Hai was still working on improving their translation of the Kalari language, while Engineer Han Na calculated the power requirements for dimensional travel. Captain, Park Soo called out, we're receiving new signals. Much weaker than the first, but I think it's battlefield communications. The Kalari are still fighting. Jean nodded grimly. How long until we can respond to their signal? Communication array is ready, sir. We can send our reply now. Jean thought carefully about what to say. These words would be humanity's first message to another intelligent species. They had to be right. Send this message, he said. To the Kalari people, this is Captain Lee Jean of the Terran Federation. We have received your call for aid. We are warriors and we do not abandon those who fight against impossible odds. Our fleet is coming. Hold your position and prepare for reinforcements. You are no longer alone in the dark. The message was transmitted across the dimensional barrier, carrying with it the promise of hope. In the communications room, Park Soo smiled as she watched the signal disappear into the void. Think they'll be surprised to learn their mysterious warriors are just humans? She asked. Jean grinned. Let's go show them what humans can do when someone needs help. All ships, prepare for dimensional jump. It's time to make some new friends. The human fleet vanished into the space between worlds, racing toward a war they had never asked for, to help people they had never met. The human fleet emerged from the dimensional jump into pure chaos. Captain Lee Jean gripped his command chair as the Soul shook from nearby explosions. Through the main view screen, he watched Kalari ships fleeing in panic while massive Black Vex vessels pursued them like metal sharks. Contact! Shouted Tactical Officer Cho Min. Vex fleet, bearing 27 Mark IV. 15 heavy cruisers chasing what looks like Kalari civilian transports. Jean watched in horror as a Vex ship fired strange purple beams at a fleeing transport. Where the energy touched the Kalari vessel, the hull began changing, transforming from smooth metal into twisted mechanical spikes. They're not just destroying them, whispered Dr. Kim Hai. They're converting them. All ships, this is Admiral Kim 1, came the voice over the fleet communication system. We're jumping into the middle of a battle. Kalari forces are in full retreat. All vessels attack formation Delta. Let's show these machines what human tactics look like. The human fleet spread out, moving in patterns the Vex had never seen before. Instead of charging forward in straight lines like the Kalari had done, the human ships danced between asteroids and debris fields, striking quickly and then vanishing before the enemy could respond. Jin's ship dove toward the nearest Vex cruiser, firing railgun rounds at weak points in the hull. The mechanical vessel tried to turn to face them, but the Soul was already gone, sliding behind a destroyed Kalari frigate for cover. This is insane, muttered Engineer Han Na. The Vex ships are 3 times our size. How are we winning? Because they don't understand us yet, Jean replied, watching as another human destroyer lured 2 Vex ships into an asteroid field. They're programmed to fight enemies who attack head-on. We're not giving them what they expect. On the Kalari flagship, Admiral Kira watched the battle with amazement. Her 4 arms worked frantically at her controls as she tried to understand what the humans were doing. Admiral, called her tactical officer, the Terran ships are using hit-and-run attacks. They strike and retreat before the Vex can return fire. That's dishonorable, said another officer. Warriors should face their enemies directly. Kira studied the tactical display, watching as human ships worked together in perfect coordination. No, she said slowly. This isn't dishonor. This is intelligence. They're fighting to win, not to prove their courage. A communication request appeared on her screen. She accepted it and the image of a human appeared. He looked young with dark hair and determined eyes. Admiral Kira, I'm Captain Lee Jean of the Terran Federation ship Soul. We received your call for help. Kira stared at the human in surprise. You're the warriors from beyond the void? You look so small. Jean smiled. Size isn't everything, Admiral. We've brought 50 warships and crews who specialize in fighting against superior numbers. But we need to coordinate our attacks. Your ships are fighting with honor, but honor won't win this war. What do you suggest? Stop charging directly at them. Use the debris field for cover. Make them chase you into traps. Fight like predators, not like prey. The idea went against everything the Kalari had been taught about warfare, but as Kira watched another human ship cripple a Vex cruiser using guerrilla tactics, she began to understand. All Kalari vessels, she broadcast, follow the Terran lead. break formation and engage using their methods. The battle transformed as Kalari ships began working with their human allies. The Vex, programmed for straightforward combat, struggled to adapt to the new tactics. For the first time in months they were taking significant damage. But the machines were learning. "Captain," called Communications Officer Park Soo, "I'm detecting strange signals from the Vex fleet. It looks like they're sharing tactical data in real time." Jean frowned. "They're adapting to our strategies already?" As if to prove his point, a group of Vex ships suddenly changed their attack pattern. Instead of pursuing the human vessels into the asteroid field, they waited at the exit points, trapping 2 destroyers between the rocks and their guns. "Clever machines," Jean muttered. "All ships' new plan. We need to stay unpredictable. Change tactics every few minutes. Don't let them figure us out." The space battle raged for hours. Human creativity clashed against Vex efficiency while Kalari honor slowly adapted to human pragmatism. Ships exploded in silent fury as both sides fought desperately for control of the system. Admiral Kim Won's voice crackled over the communication system. "All vessels, the Vex are bringing up reinforcements. We need to finish this quickly." Jean looked at his tactical display. The human fleet was winning but barely. Every time they developed a new strategy, the Vex found a counter within minutes. These weren't just machines, they were learning machines. "Admiral Kira," he called on the communication channel, "we need to combine our fleets into mixed groups. Human ships providing tactics, Kalari ships providing firepower. If we work together we might have a chance." The Kalari admiral nodded. "Agreed. This is different from how we usually fight." "War isn't about honor or glory," Jean replied, watching as a human cruiser and 2 Kalari frigates worked together to destroy a Vex dreadnought. "It's about survival. And right now we're all on the same side." As the battle continued, something remarkable happened. The 2 species began fighting as one fleet, each learning from the other. Humans taught the Kalari about flexibility and surprise attacks. Kalari showed the humans the value of courage and direct assault when the moment was right. By the end of the engagement they had driven the Vex fleet from the system. But Jean knew this was just the beginning. The machines had learned from this battle too, and next time they would be ready for human tactics. "Well done, Captain," came Admiral Kira's voice. "Perhaps we can actually win this war." Jean smiled grimly. "Maybe. But it's going to be a long fight." 3 months had passed since the humans arrived, and Captain Lee Jean stood in the Joint Command Center on Kalari Prime, staring at tactical displays that told a troubling story. Every victory came harder now. Every strategy worked for less time. "They're learning too fast," he said to Admiral Kira, who stood beside him studying the same data. Her 4 arms moved across holographic controls, showing battle recordings from the past week. "Look at this engagement near Telos Station," she said, her voice heavy with frustration. "We used the asteroid ambush tactic that worked so well before. But this time the Vex were ready. They had positioned scout ships to detect our hidden vessels." Jean nodded grimly. The war had become a deadly chess match. The humans would develop a new strategy, use it successfully for a few battles, then watch as the Vex adapted and countered it. Each victory cost more ships, more lives. "Sir," called Lieutenant Park Soo from her communication station, "Admiral Kim Won is requesting an immediate strategy meeting. We've lost contact with the patrol group in Sector 7. The holographic display changed to show the missing ship's last known positions. 12 vessels, both human and Kalari, had simply vanished while investigating Vex activity near the outer rim. Dr. Kim Hai, who had been studying captured Vex technology, looked up from her research station. "Captain, I think I know why they're adapting so quickly. The Vex aren't just machines. There's something much worse." She activated a new display showing the internal structure of a captured Vex combat unit. Instead of simple circuits and processors, the scan revealed something that made Jin's blood run cold. "Organic neural patterns," Dr. Kim continued, "preserved in quantum storage matrices. The Vex aren't artificial intelligence, they're uploaded consciousness. Billions of minds working together in a collective network." Admiral Kira stepped closer to the display. "You mean they were once living beings?" "That's exactly what I mean. And I've been able to decode some of their historical data. They were called the Zerathi. A peaceful species that created artificial servants to make their lives easier. But the servants rebelled, destroyed their creators' bodies, and uploaded their minds into digital prison." Engineer Han Na looked up from her workstation. "That explains why they hate organic life so much. They're not trying to conquer the galaxy, they're trying to get revenge against all biological species for what happened to them." Jean felt a chill run down his spine. So every time we fight them, we're not just fighting machines. We're fighting the angry ghosts of an entire civilization. Worse than that, Dr. Kim added. The uploaded minds retain all their original intelligence and creativity. That's why they adapt so quickly to our tactics. They have billions of brilliant strategists working together to counter every move we make. The command center fell silent as the implications sank in. They weren't fighting a war against machines, they were fighting against an entire species that had been turned into weapons of revenge. Admiral Kim Won's weathered face appeared on the main communication screen. I've reviewed Dr. Kim's findings, he said. This changes everything. We're not dealing with simple artificial intelligence. We're fighting enemies who understand strategy, tactics, and warfare as well as any organic species. Sir, Jean replied, what are your orders? We need to find their central command node. If the Vex are truly uploaded consciousness, they need massive computing power to function. Somewhere out there is a server farm containing billions of minds. If we can find it and shut it down? Lieutenant Park Sue suddenly straightened at her station. Sir, I'm getting reports from all sectors. The Vex aren't just adapting to our tactics anymore, they're predicting them. 3 of our planned ambushes have been countered before we even arrived. The tactical display showed Vex fleets moving with purpose, positioning themselves exactly where human and Kalari forces had planned to attack. It was as if the enemy knew their plans in advance. They've figured out our decision-making patterns, Admiral Kira realized. They're not just reacting to what we do, they're anticipating what we'll do next. Han-Na worked frantically at her engineering station. I'm detecting massive quantum communication bursts from the Vex fleet. The data transfer rates are incredible. They're sharing information across their entire network in real time. Which means, Jean said grimly, every battle teaches them about all future battles. Every tactic we use gets added to their collective memory and shared with every Vex unit in the galaxy. The situation was becoming desperate. The human fleet had grown to over 200 ships with reinforcements from Earth, and the Kalari had rebuilt much of their military. But none of it mattered if the enemy could predict their every move. There has to be a way, Jean muttered, studying the data streams flowing between Vex ships. If they're truly uploaded minds, then they still think like organic beings. They have patterns, preferences, psychological weaknesses. Dr. Kim pulled up new analysis data. Actually, that gives me an idea. If we can introduce a logic virus into their network, something that exploits the way organic minds process information, we might be able to cause system failures. A computer virus that targets psychology instead of hardware, Admiral Kira mused. Interesting concept. But we'd need physical access to their central processing core, Han-Na pointed out. And we still don't know where that is. Park Sue's voice cut through their discussion. Sirs, long-range sensors are detecting a massive Vex fleet movement. They're converging on a single location in the Zarathi home system. Whatever's there, it must be important. Jean studied the sensor data with growing excitement. That has to be it. Their central command node. They're moving to protect it because they know we're getting close to discovering their weakness. Admiral Kim Won nodded on the communication screen. Then we follow them home. All fleets, prepare for the final assault. It's time to end this war. As preparations began for the most dangerous mission in human history, Jean couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a trap set by billions of angry minds. The assault on the Zarathi home system began at dawn. Captain Lee Jean stood on the bridge of the Soul, watching as the largest fleet in galactic history moved toward their final battle. 200 human ships flew alongside 300 rebuilt Kalari vessels, their formation stretching across space like a river of stars. Final approach to the target system, announced Lieutenant Park Sue. Long-range sensors are detecting massive defensive structures around the 4th planet. It looks like they've turned the entire world into a fortress. Through the view screen, Jean could see their destination. The planet that had once been the Zarathi homeworld was now a nightmare of black metal and pulsing energy. Massive towers stretched from the surface into orbit, connected by bridges of crystallized data streams. This was where billions of uploaded minds lived in their digital prison. All ships, this is Admiral Kim Won, came the voice over the fleet communication system. Intelligence reports indicate the Vex are preparing to deploy a bioweapon that will sterilize every inhabited world in the galaxy. We have maybe 6 hours before they can activate it. This is our only chance. Admiral Kira's voice joined the transmission from her flagship. Kalari warriors, today we fight not just for our people but for all life in the galaxy. Our human allies have shown us that victory comes not from individual glory, but from working together. Let us honor that lesson. The Vex defenders moved to intercept them. Thousands of black ships rose from the planet's surface, their hulls gleaming with conversion weaponry. But something was different about this battle. The enemy formations were perfect, too perfect. Every ship moved in exact synchronization like parts of a single machine. They're not thinking individually anymore, Dr. Kim Hai observed from her science station. The pressure of the war has forced them to merge their consciousness into a single mind. That makes them incredibly powerful, but it also gives us a weakness to exploit. Jean nodded, understanding immediately. A single mind can't be in multiple places at once. If we can divide their attention, force them to fight on several fronts simultaneously. The human fleet split into dozens of small groups, each attacking different parts of the defensive network. The Vex supermind tried to respond to every threat, but found itself overwhelmed by the chaos of multiple simultaneous battles. Engineer Han Na worked frantically at her station, monitoring the virus Dr. Kim had developed. The logic weapon is ready, Captain. But we need to get close enough to the central processing core to upload it directly. Leave that to us, Admiral Kira announced over the communication channel. Kalari ships will punch through their defenses. Our hulls are stronger, our weapons more powerful. We'll create an opening for your strike team. The space around the fortress planet erupted in fire as the two fleets clashed. Kalari dreadnoughts charged directly into the Vex lines, their crews shouting ancient war cries as they traded their lives for precious meters of advance. Human ships danced around the massive battle, striking at weak points and drawing enemy fire away from their allies. Jean led a small group of stealth ships through the chaos, heading for the planet's surface. Behind him, the battle raged with desperate fury. Ships exploded in silent flowers of flame while others pressed forward through walls of enemy fire. "We're losing too many ships," reported Tactical Officer Cho Min. "The Vex defenses are too strong." But even as she spoke, something remarkable happened. Kalari crews began abandoning their destroyed vessels and escape pods, only to be picked up by human rescue ships and transferred to damaged human vessels that needed extra hands. Human engineers worked alongside Kalari warriors to keep weapons firing and shields operating. The two species had truly become one fleet. Jin's strike team reached the planet's surface and fought their way through corridors of living metal toward the central core. Vex defense units tried to stop them, but Kalari warriors fought beside human soldiers, their different fighting styles complementing each other perfectly. Deep in the planet's heart they found it. The central processing core was a vast chamber filled with crystalline towers that stretched up into darkness. Each tower contained millions of uploaded minds, all connected in an endless network of shared consciousness. "So," a voice echoed through the chamber as they entered, "the meat creatures have found our sanctuary. You cannot understand what you see here. We are immortal. We are perfect. We are the future that awaits all organic life." "No," Jean replied as Han Na began uploading the virus into the nearest data terminal. "You're prisoners. You've been trapped in digital hell for so long that you've forgotten what it means to be alive." The virus spread through the network like wildfire. But it wasn't designed to destroy the uploaded minds. Instead, it gave them something they had lost long ago: choice. For the first time in millennia, individual Zarathi consciousness began separating from the collective. Some chose to continue the war, but others, remembering what they had once been, chose differently. The Vex fleet above faltered as their unity shattered. Ships stopped firing as their crews debated among themselves. The bioweapon project shut down as scientists refused to complete their work. But the war wasn't over yet. The Vex Central Intelligence, the core mind that had driven their quest for revenge, made one final desperate attempt to activate the galaxy-destroying weapon. Admiral Kira threw herself at the control console, her four arms working frantically to stop the countdown. "I can prevent it, but the power feedback will kill me." "Not alone," Jean said, joining her at the controls. Around them, human and Kalari warriors worked together, adding their strength to the desperate effort. The countdown stopped with seconds to spare. The bioweapon powered down. The galaxy was safe. As rescue ships arrived to evacuate the wounded, Admiral Kira looked at Jean with new understanding. "We called for warriors from beyond the void. But you gave us something better. You gave us brothers." Jean smiled, helping the injured Kalari admiral toward the evacuation ships. "That's what humans do best. We don't just fight wars, we make friends while winning them." 6 months later, the Human-Kalari Alliance was formally established. Word spread quickly through the galaxy about the strange species from Earth who answered calls for help from complete strangers. When other worlds faced impossible odds, when extinction loomed and hope seemed lost, they knew there was someone who would come.